was for sale. But we won't talk about that now because we're going to get into that whole story here in a couple weeks. We'll get into that whole story. Now, the next mention of Rebekah is in chapter 26, verse 7. And that's an interesting highlighted story there. Isaac, because of drought once again, had to go into Philistine country. And notice what verse 7 says was going on there. Where did he learn that from? Like father, like son. Oh, she's my sister. These people weren't perfect, were they? My, interesting story. Next verse. Look at Genesis 27:5. Here we find, and we're just highlighting parts of these stories. Here we find Rebekah eavesdropping on Isaac. Why would she have to eavesdrop on Isaac? Why wouldn't she just go right into the tent and listen to what he's saying? Interesting question to ask on that story. And so you have that story. Eavesdropping on old Isaac. Isaac had lost his what? His sight. And then the story in verse 8. What a story. Rebekah actually commanding Jacob to deceive Isaac. What kind of mother was this? Commanding him to actually what? To lie. Can you imagine a mother telling her son to lie? Do we tell our sons and our daughters to lie? Is there any parent here that actually has done that? Stood up and say, I want you to lie. Sometimes by our own action in front of our kids, we teach our kids what? You can't teach your kids that trick if they observe it in you. But a mother actually doing that. Interesting. We're rushing through this story. You know the story well, but what is the point of the story and why was it recorded here? Well, Rebekah, notice chapter 27:43. She tries to save Jacob. And so she invents a story and tells the story to Isaac that Jacob needs to go and get himself a wife someplace. Get Jacob out of there so, as she says, I don't lose what? Both sons when they start fighting. Rebekah's right in the middle, but of course Jacob, mommy's boy, always follows exactly what his mother tells him to do. This isn't a good familial picture, is it? Would you say there's a little dysfunction in this family? Wouldn't you say so? I would say so. Well, you can read all the story, but as the story started up, we talk about Rebekah's beauty. And the years took a toll on Rebekah's beauty. One commentator has written, she can hardly be regarded as an amiable woman. When we first see her, she is ready to leave her father's house forever at an hour's notice. And her future life showed not only a full share of her brother Laban's duplicity, but the grave fault of partiality in her relations to her children, and a strong will which soon controlled the gentler nature of her husband. In other words, Isaac was henpecked. Her beauty that was on the surface, as years went on, wore off. So why does God choose these type of people for His work? Why can't God choose better people? And as we've looked at this list of women of the Bible, probably 80% of them, we would say, if we were choosing Bad choice. So why did God choose? Can't He do better? Why doesn't He choose perfect people? You know why?
There ain't no perfect people.
Well, maybe we can partially answer the question as we close with this scripture. Turn to Romans. And this may give us a partial answer to the question of why would God choose sinful people for His work? Romans 9, verse 10 through 16. Paul comments, and not only this, but there was Rebekah also, when she had conceived twins by one man, our father Isaac. For through the twins were not yet born and had not done anything good or bad, so that God's purpose according to His choice would stand, not because of works, but because of Him who calls. It was said to her, the older will serve the younger, just as it is written, Jacob I loved, but Esau I hated. What shall we say then? Paul's asking the same question. What shall we say then? There is no injustice with God, is there? May it never be. For He says to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. So then it does not depend on the man who wills or the man who runs, but on God who has what? Mercy. That's the answer. Why does God choose inferior human beings to do His work? Because He has what? Mercy. Why wouldn't God choose those people who in the public's eye are great people and great religious leaders today? He doesn't choose them often. Who's His choice most often? People who He has offered mercy and grace. And there's not a single person in this room today that doesn't need His grace and His mercy.